Rights to freedom is dead. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Elite. Before we get started, please make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 10K. Hit that like and that share because all that helps the reach and the growth of the channel. For everything that you all do, thank you very much. Now, on the TikTok app, you got some good, you got some bad, and you got some crazy. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Crazy. Just absolute crazy, delusional, in their own world type of crazy. All right. Now, we all know that the Honorable Dr. Frances Cress Welsing has given us the ISIS papers, something that I definitely recommend all of you guys get. The book is not really that expensive. You can get for like 21 or somewhere between like $20 to $25 around that. I don't know exactly how much it is like as of today with, you know, shipping and all that, but you can get it for a relatively low price, especially considering all of the useful information, especially in today's time, that this book has. But we have somebody who went out of their way to not only disrespect the ISIS papers, but to disrespect Dr. Frances Cress Welsing in such a way to call her an agent of white supremacy because she's spewing in her ISIS papers and her teaching and lectures, she's spewing anti-feminism and homophobia. So without any further ado, let's get into it because we got a lot to break down.
Have you ever wondered why so many pro-black men are anti-feminism and homophobic? Unfortunately, it may be because of this black woman, Frances Cress Welsing. She wrote the ISIS papers as an attempt to try to find what the root of white supremacy is, why it exists. And in her understanding, she determined that the cause of supremacy is to prevent the annihilation of the race.
That's true. That's a fact. That's 100% true. And we're seeing that today. The numbers and statistics of the birth rates and everything like that is proving what she's saying to be true. She taught that white supremacy has a very bad fear, an internal fear of genetic annihilation by the black race. That's what she taught. That's what she teaches. Okay. And you even have now white supremacists themselves have confirmed that genetic annihilation is very concerning to them. So when she brings this up, she'll just say it in passing as if that's the foundation is kind of up in the air or if it's still a theory. It's very much so confirmed at this point.
Now you may be wondering, what does this have to do with anti-feminism and homophobia? Well, she thought that black men were the main target of white supremacy because black men have the ability to annihilate the race through procreation.
Okay, that's a very inaccurate oversimplification of what Dr. Welsing was teaching. She taught that white society, especially the white supremacists, they are afraid of genetic annihilation. They are afraid that their genes, if they do mix with black genes, because they have the recessive genes, the black genes will dominate, and with that continuing, the white race as they see it will cease to exist. And because of the fact that a man can, and this is what she teaches, so this is just it, a man can force himself onto a woman, and a woman cannot force a pregnancy onto a man. She cannot force a man to impregnate her, but the vice versa, it can happen. She's saying that there is a higher fear of black males in their minds, in the minds of white supremacists, dominating and wiping out their gene pool. This is something that they've all pretty much confirmed by now.
From that conclusion, she drew another conclusion that feminism is a supremacist ploy to get black women to economically advance so far that they no longer needed black men.
Once again, no. She taught that feminism was a thing to psychologically turn the black women against black men by tricking them and fooling them and making them think that they do not need their men at all, that their men within their community are the enemies, okay? And it's only black feminists who believe that. There are literally no other feminist group in the world who specifically single out their group of men as their potential enemy, okay? Or as their enemy in general. They'll say men in general, but they won't single out and especially emphasize their men. They don't do that. But the dominant society has manipulated black women into believing that black men is the enemy, which causes a divide within the family, which causes a divide within the community, which ultimately weakens the community, okay? The whole thing of black women are going to advance so far that we don't need black men. That's not happening. That's not what anybody was in fear of, okay? The dominant society has never allowed black women to advance so far where they don't need black men. What they have done is they have systematically deprived black men of resources while temporarily giving black women a couple more crumbs, and then emphasizing that they have a couple more crumbs than the black man does. So they make it seem like as if it's a bigger economic difference. But the thing is that it's not like black women are balling and black men are out here broke, and we need black women to be broke so they can be on the level of black men. That's just not the truth. That's not the reality.
And that the black family unit would be destroyed, and then there would be no procreation of black people. Which, when you think about it, is really sad because it reduces women to their role as an incubator for the next generation.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't reduce their role and say the only way a woman is important is if she can bear children and as if she's a mother. That's not what that's saying at all. And you have to just listen to how she says it. You have to understand there are certain, the TikTok feminist crowd, their disdain for motherhood is something that's very abnormal, okay? Most women do not have this strong disdain for motherhood the way they do. They look, I'm just an incubator. No, you're a mother. You gave birth to a child. That's a beautiful thing. Most women who have given birth to children see it that way. It's just these weird, I've locked myself in the closet to go to sleep crowd of people who like motherhood, ew. Like, no, that's an actual beautiful thing, really. And it doesn't only reduce their role to that and say that that's the only way they can matter or be important.
But black women weren't the only marginalized group within the black community that she had a problem with. She also thought that homosexuality was a agenda to prevent the procreation of black people through emasculating the strong black man.
Shout out to Tariq Nasheed for coming up with the documentary of buck breaking, because that is very, very necessary, especially in today's time. Now, when you talk about buck breaking, which is kind of what she's talking about when she talks about emasculation and all that, that's buck breaking, which is something that actually, that's documented history that has actually happened. When they talk about emasculating, they make it seem, they talk about it in this very sarcastic tone to make it seem like that's something that we just made up, that's some form of pseudoscience, when it's actual documented history that has happened. What's interesting about that is they'll admit grooming exists. They'll admit that some adults prey on children and they can groom children and all that, except when it comes to homosexuality. When it comes to homosexuality, nobody can be groomed whatsoever. That's just impossible. And it's homophobic to even imply that. But you can be groomed when it comes to heterosexuality. They'll admit that. See, their argument is very disingenuous. Okay? And when you actually study the work of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, all of her predictions that she was making all the way back when she was actually giving lectures and teaching have come true today. You have grown men in dresses, celebrities, you Little Nas X giving a lap dance and to Satan in hell. Like all of the psychological buck breaking to emasculate, because their agenda is they don't want the black race to overpopulate and dominate the white race. So they have to put forth multiple different things to bring the population down, the population control, which is an attack on black people, essentially.
In reality, the construction of cis heteropatriarchal gender roles and therefore cis heteropatriarchal sexuality is a product of white supremacy, making her an agent of white supremacy through her anti-feminist rhetoric and her homophobia.
No, actually, you are the agent. You are the agent, okay? Now, she's talking about gender roles and all that. We're going to get into that a little bit later, because she's made some other videos, because she was getting drugged, especially on Twitter. But she made some other videos, so we're going to really break down this whole gender war myth, role, whatever she's talking, whatever she is. And I'm telling you about these pronoun folks. I keep telling you about them, okay? Especially the one with the septum ring, especially that one. Well, we're definitely going to break that down. Y'all just stay tuned.
If any of this sounds familiar, there's a reason for it. Pan-Africanist black men don't want liberation for all black people. They want to be on top in a hierarchy of black supremacy that centers black men. Black, cis, heteropatriarchal values are just repackaged white supremacy.
Number one, black supremacy does not exist. There is no such thing in the world as black supremacy. Why? Because there is white supremacy. The world is governed, ruled, and controlled by white supremacy. There cannot be two supremes. So there is either white supremacy or there is not. If there is white supremacy, there cannot be black supremacy. And Dr. Umar, you got his picture up here. Dr. Umar does not push an ideology of what you would call black supremacy, where the black man is on this hierarchy and he is oppressing everybody beneath him the way white supremacy is structured. So that is 100% wrong. But if you thought that delusional video, if you thought that was it, it wasn't, okay? Because she was getting roasted on pretty much all social media, with the exception of TikTok. But there's even been some TikTok videos responding and checking her about what she said, but especially on Twitter. So she pinned that. She, I guess, took a screenshot and pinned that and made response videos to this blasphemous video she's already destroyed her image and brand with. So let's look into that.
The fact that Tariq Nasheed and the people in his comments had nothing critical to say about my take, other than the fact that I had a septum ring, shows how shallow these people are.
The first thing I want to say is she should be careful with what she wishes for. She's talking about Tariq Nasheed, the person who came up with the buck-breaking documentary. You don't want him to really analyze what you just said. You really don't, okay? You don't want to be smoked that bad. And to be honest with you, if this was his take on Twitter, he's probably saving his much larger take for either a YouTube video or a Twitter space, which, if that's the case, then you're pretty much done for. You really don't want the smoke with him. But the thing is this, him saying that you got a septum ring is pretty much enough, because and this might be offensive to some people who might be watching and they have those rings, but a lot of dumb ideology comes from people who wear that. It is almost like a calling card to a degree. You know, when you see somebody with that, they all fit into this niche of people who think a very specific, weird, bizarre way, who have crusty socks and dirty fingernails and don't wash their hair. That I'm not gonna say all the times, but a good 8 to 9 times out of 10, they're kind of like that. And if you look at this girl's hair, she has that. I mean, you can't expect a lot of sense to come from somebody with that much metal in their face. Not only does she have the septum ring, she also has whatever spikes out of her nose or something like that. That's not even, by the way, it's all lopsided. But I mean, just the whole look. She looked, oh Lord.
Because there's no way to refute my take that homophobia and misogyny are rooted in white supremacy. Non-binary and trans identities existed in Africa before colonialism and before chattel slavery. 1/4 of African Americans' ancestors were stolen from what is now modern-day Angola. Many of us may be descended from the Ubuntu tribe.
Okay, for the sake of the argument, we're not going to... Okay, for the sake of the argument, we're just going to assume that all Black Americans came from Africa for this one video. Now, I've made different videos, different lives to kind of show the true history, the documented history, that there were Black people on this continent before slavery. So we're just going to put a pin in that, and we're just going to go with the fact that we all came from the slave ships. Even still, she says 1/4, that is a quarter, may have come from a specific tribe. All right. So she means over half a millennia ago, 25% of Black people may have came from this one tribe,
which at the time was ruled by Queen Nzinga, a warrior queen who fought off slave traders during the transatlantic slave trade. Queen Nzinga was often referred to as both a king and a queen. She was known to dress in traditionally masculine clothing and had husbands who were referred to as male wives that performed for her all of the duties that women would normally perform in society.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to say I know pretty much anything about Queen Nzinga. I don't. So let's say everything that she's saying is 100% accurate. Everything is the truth. Even if that is the case, so what? Who cares? Honestly, who really cares? If over half a millennia ago, we might have been from a tribe that had a woman king thing. Who cares? At the end of the day, that tribe does not exist. That culture does not exist. We are not from that culture. Who cares at the end of the day, to be honest? And the thing is that they keep trying to Africanize gender fluidity and all of that stuff. There was one single tribe, and the reason why you have to point to one single tribe and you have to do all this research is to show, yeah, there was one tribe where the woman was a queen, king, and let's just assume that that's 100% accurate, because I don't even know if that's 100% accurate. But okay, if she was a king, queen, whatever the case is, ma'am, that was not anywhere near the norm in Africa. Africa did not and is not operating that way.
This subversion of gender roles was not just unique to that Angolan tribe, but can also be found in the second largest tribe that our ancestors were stolen from, the Igbo tribe of Nigeria. In the book Boy Wives and Female Husbands, Africana Studies scholars talk about the history of the subversion of gender roles in the Igbo tribe. When fathers did not have sons, they often assigned the role of a boy to their daughter, raising them to have the societal authority of a man.
What does that mean? If you don't have a son, you raise your daughter to have the societal authority of a man. What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? You're just saying stuff, just saying whatever with no meaning.
Also, when women could not bear children, they often married other women and became a female husband to that woman. Then the woman would have children with another man, and they would raise those kids as a dual partnership of two women.
Man, what the hell? What is that? What? Okay, that's backwards. That's just backwards. Let's be honest, okay? We're just gonna have to cut all the BS out. Let's just be honest. If, and that's a big all caps IF, if what she is saying is true, so what? That's weird. That doesn't make any sense. Just because something existed in Africa does not mean that we need to replicate that here today in modern society. That does not mean that. Okay, you beware of all of the people. beware of all of the people who want to cherry pick parts of Africa, like go 500, 600 years in the past to find one single tribe where there's a single tribe. Well, the woman can't give birth. And the only way we would know that at the time is if men tried to impregnate her. And if she couldn't give birth, she would just marry a woman who could give birth. I don't know why the woman who could give birth wasn't married to a man anyway, but we're not going to ask that question. She would marry her, and then some other man would just impregnate the woman who could give birth instead of just marrying the woman who could give birth. And then they would raise the children together for whatever reason. That, if that was true, let's just say that bizarre little family mixture setup thing was 100% true. Ma'am, most of Africa did not operate that way. They keep trying to Africanize their gender fluid nonsense by cherry picking weird aspects, weird, vague kind of pseudoscience aspects in Africa. When most of the most of the country, to be honest, because she's only talking about one tribe, not even a country. Most of the country did not operate that way, and most of the continent did not ever operate that way. Now, if you want to talk about Africa, why don't you talk about how Africa feels about gender fluidity and gender roles and all that stuff prior to colonialism and prior to slavery? Because they make it seem like gender roles was non-existent prior to slavery and prior to colonialism, and that's not true. That's why they have to stretch and pull up these weird books nobody's ever read and cite these weird tribes that nobody knows and does not exist today.
The fluidity of gender in these societies cannot be ignored.
Actually, it really can be, and most importantly, it really should be.
And serves as a good reminder that gender is not just a social construct, but also a colonial one.
Let's all take a break. Let's calm down, because that is top tier delusion, and I want to apologize for having you guys listen to that, because I know you guys, your brain is hurting right now. Some of you guys went to your closet, the bathroom, or wherever you keep your medicine so you can get some pain medication, whatever. Some of you guys needed to take a nap. I understand. I'm sorry, but we have to talk about this. We have to talk about it. Definitely, if you guys have not seen Buck Breaking, the movie, you guys definitely need to see that documentary. Very useful information, especially in today's time. And the thing is, all of the dissing, and I could drag her. I really, really could. But I want to use this as a teaching moment. I really want to use this to inform other people. To be totally honest, especially the young people, and then especially there's people in the LGBT, the Black LGBT community. They really need to listen to this, because too often those delusional feminist septum wearing creature thing, whatever they, them pronouns, whatever they want to refer to themselves as, if they know what they want to be referred to themselves as, those people tend to be the representatives of the Black LGBT. So this is very important that the Black LGBT and everybody listen, because we know how to debunk this in the future. Number one, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing did not necessarily hate on any specific lifestyle. You could live whatever lifestyle you wanted to live. Nobody did. But she understood systematic white supremacy. She understood the 9 areas of people activity, or the original 9 areas of people activity, which she put the health area of human activity or people activity into the list, and it became 10 areas. But she understood sex is a part of that, and sex can be weaponized to confuse a group of people. That is something that white supremacy has been using to confuse Black society for a long time. They use sex. Now, what this does not mean that every single person who's LGBT, every Black person who's within that lifestyle is against Black society or is off code. That does not mean that, okay? Because we do have some who are on code. We do have some who they step real heavy. They represent the movement well. They are pushing for reparations and fighting against white supremacy and all. So we do have that, okay? And I'm going to acknowledge that. The thing is, though, we have way more of those delusional types. The ones who are off code are very much so often overshadowed by the delusions. the delusional pronoun people overshadow the on code LGBT. That needs to change. And when we say something about it, then we got the on code LGBT feeling some type of way. But to be honest, when stuff like this pops up, they don't want to say anything. That needs to change as well. What Dr. Welsing was trying to teach in the ISIS papers, which is something I definitely recommend everybody read and everybody study her works as far as her lectures, her interviews, teachings, and all of that. What she was talking about is genetic annihilation. This is something even Joe Biden himself has recognized. They all recognize that the European white birth rate is dwindling. They all recognize that. They all recognize that there's going to be, even in America, a minority white society. They all recognize that. And they are very much in fear of that. So they do certain things so they can psychologically keep black people subservient in a second class and underclass position. That's number one. Also, number two, they do other things that will depopulate the world as far as black people. That's why you see, and I don't want to go too much into it because I don't want this channel getting messed with, but that's why you see certain agendas being pushed that lead to black people not being able to black women not being able to give birth, or black men not being able to produce sperm and things like that, things that will lower the population. There are agendas, and you guys know what I mean, so you guys know. If you know, you know. There are agendas that are being pushed that are deliberately there to depopulate black society, or at least to stunt black society's birth rate, especially in America. They're doing that because they fear genetic annihilation. This is not something that we're making up. This is not pseudoscience. To be totally honest, a white supremacist like Richard Spencer will tell you that. They'll tell you that, hey, we need to move fast because our birth rates are slowing down, or essentially just stopped. Our birth rates are plummeting. We need to do something fast so we can have a stronghold on dominating the world racially. That's what they're trying to do. This is what Dr. Welsing was predicting, which is everything she said in her book and in her teachings are coming true today. You got men wearing dresses, men wearing purses, lipstick. Now you have a lot of confusion. People don't know who they really are. That's why they're like, I'm fluid. I can be a girl. I can be a boy. I can be anything or nothing. They're very confused. And all of this confusion will be weaponized against black society for the benefit of white supremacy. So actually what she was saying was the very opposite. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was giving us the core understanding of how they operate and why they operate that way, so we can understand how to counter a lot of their agendas. The same exact agenda that person was pushing, the same exact one. The feminist thing. Black men and black women, especially in America. Let's just talk about America. We're not talking about hundreds of years ago in Africa or whatever the case is, where you don't really have the full context to everything that was going on, or the tribes or anything. And to be totally honest, everything in Africa that was going on back in the day isn't something that we should be super proud of, or something that needs to be replicated in today's time. But let's just talk about something we have full context of and full knowledge of, which is our history here on this land. Okay, we understand that black men and black women have always and forever will work together to accomplish us fighting for rights, us breaking the chains of slavery, us freeing people with the railroads, all of that stuff, our revolutionary battles, all of our uprisings, all of that stuff we have done as a unit, as a group together. So what the dominant society did is say, okay, well, we're going to strategically try to separate that two by have a lot of infighting going on in the society. This is why you see all of these other societies that have a lot of infighting. You see the dominant society, they get to come in and they get to pretty much eliminate a certain group of people much easier, or they get to control that group of people much easier because they sow the seeds of division and infighting within the group. This is where the feminism comes in. Feminism comes in because there's a lot of black women who fell for the trick of, well, I'm a woman before I am a black, or I am a woman just as much. My womanhood is just as important as my blackness is. So therefore, I can't promote my blackness over my womanhood. I can't be black first. Now, as a lot of black men, well, two men, and there's some, but most black men can't really fall for the I'm a man before I'm black thing. Now, you do have some, but they're not nearly as many as you have the black feminists who say I'm a woman before I'm black, or they're just as important. When the thing is that you live in a system, we all live in a system of global white supremacy. So you're not a woman before you're black, just like I'm not a man before I'm black. In the system of white supremacy, you are black. Black is just this big nigga. Okay, black is just black. That is it. They do not recognize your womanhood, and this is why you cannot be a woman before you are black, or you cannot be a man before you are black, because they do not recognize your humanity. They don't recognize you as a human. When they were calling black people 3/5 of a human hundreds of years ago, they still psychologically think that way today. They still view black people as this kind of thing. They still thingify black people. They still objectify black people to a position that is less than human. They treated black people less than human. They did not view black women as, oh, well, we hate women and we hate black, so we're gonna definitely, that's not how they viewed that, because they did not view black women as women, period. They viewed black women as this sort of human-like beast, the same way they viewed black men as. That's why their lives, our lives, did not matter in their eyes, okay? So this is why it's important, because we understand in this world, you will be seen as black first, you will be treated as black first, and only promoting your blackness first is going to defeat the system of white supremacy. Now, brothers and sisters, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. What do you think about what this TikTok liberal feminist was talking about? What do you think about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing? You should definitely get the Buck Breaking DVD. You should definitely watch that. And you should also get the ISIS papers, okay? You guys should definitely, much require watching and reading. You're definitely going to get a lot of knowledge from that. But what do you guys think about that? Have you guys seen the movie? Have you guys read the book? What do you guys think about Dr. Welsing's book? Have you seen Buck Breaking? What do you think about that? I want to know in the comments section below. Also, you should be following me on my various social media platforms, which is Afro Elite on Instagram and The Afro Elite on Twitter. Also, please do not forget to leave a subscribe. We're on our way to 10K. Please make sure you guys leave a subscribe, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, share this, leave a comment, all of that stuff, because that helps the reach in the growth of the channel. And thank you very much. Now, with that being said, my brothers and sisters, black first to every single last one of you all, and you all have a good one.